Hi, I'm Rachel and welcome to Yield and Grace. As always, my videos are not financial advice and always do your own research before investing. Today is episode 3 of Generations of Wealth, where I sit down with my dad, the one who taught me everything that I know about investing. But today we have a very special guest, my brother, who has also learned a lot about investing from my dad. So we are going to sit down and talk to him about his mindset, his holdings, and what he thinks about generational wealth. So Jordan, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Do you want to start off with telling everyone what your holdings are and kind of what you invest most in?
Yeah, so when I initially got started with investing, I'll never forget, I was on the Reddit forum Wall Street Bets, and someone was making a speculative play about DJT, which is Donald Trump's company, and I bought a couple calls because the strike price was, within my budget, and I remember holding on to those when that company went public, and I made a couple $1,000s, and I was like, this is pretty cool. I could get used to it. I wasn't really a long-term investor at that point. It was just a quick buck kind of thing, but it was nice being able to turn a few $100s into a couple $1,000s, right? And then last year, I got really into talking with you guys about dividend stocks. And the first stock I really got into was Coney. And just a few $100s, it doesn't take much to get started. Just a few $100s here, a few $100s there, but I was instantly hooked on the dividend every week, or every month I should say. At that time it was monthly, but instantly got hooked to the dividends, and most of my stocks now are ETF dividend stocks. So
what originally drew you to Coney? Did you have a conviction in Coinbase? Did you like Coinbase, or what was it?
Part of it was I saw the price action on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin just kept going up and up and up, and I feel Coinbase follows Bitcoin pretty closely, and with Bitcoin going up, more people are jumping into it, and most people will probably use a platform like Coinbase to purchase Bitcoin, or for Bitcoin transactions.
Yeah.
So that to me was a no-brainer, right? It's almost like sometimes Bitcoin feels a little out of reach for people because of the price of it. So it feels like you're getting in on a piece of the action of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So
true.
And Jordan was also the one that started our stock chat for our family so that our family information wasn't meshed in with our stock information.
Yeah,
so
because we have a family chat with all of my brothers and all of us,
yes.
But then we just have a stock chat.
Yes.
That's the exclusive club.
Yeah, for memes, we send some memes in there. Yeah.
So when the market's going down, we're like, what's going on?
But that's also where we give our declarations and our guesstimates with retiring dividends. And
yes, so highly recommend starting a stock chats for your family.
it is entertaining.
Yeah.
What would you say are your top 3 stocks? I know you said you're mainly in high yield ETFs like I am. Mm-hmm. So what are your top 3 stocks that you like best?
Right now, my favorite 3, I'm leaning more towards Roundhill. When I started investing, I dipped a lot into YieldMax. I've recently exited YieldMax, a few of the positions I had in YieldMax, but I'm really liking Roundhill. They seem a little more consistent on their weekly distributions and a little bit of less NAV erosion. I know that's a touchy subject with people, but my top 3 right now is HOOW, which is killing it, right? COIW, and I do still hold YieldMax positions. Plady is my 3rd favorite. So between those 3, I usually have a decent weekly income.
Do you still have Misty?
I do still have Misty. Yeah, Misty's actually one of my largest positions, but it's also one of the positions I'm most down on.
Yeah,
but you talk about conviction all the time, and all it takes is a recovery of Bitcoin
and MicroStrategy.
Well,
exactly.
MSTR is down so much; it's near a 52-week low.
Mm-hmm.
It can only, you would think, it only go up from here.
Exactly. Yeah. You really have to have nerves of steel to be in it for the long game.
Yeah, that's the market. I mean, you can't stare at it. It's like when you buy a house; you don't check every day on what the house is
value,
worth.
yeah.
It's a long-term investment.
Well, it's funny, they say some of the best investors are dead people because
They don't look at
they don't look at their portfolio every day, right?
Yeah, that trust fund that was started generations ago is still generating money, and nobody touches it.
Exactly.
So starting out as a beginner in investing over a year ago, what would you say is like the number one thing that you have learned on your journey of investing, and what advice would you give to people who are just starting out as a beginner?
A good piece of advice, I think, is that you can start with any amount, right? Sometimes we look at these people's portfolios, especially in the Twitter X space and YouTube, and you get intimidated because a lot of these people have these huge portfolios. But for me, it wasn't like that. I started with $100 here, $250 here. What I really told myself is I looked at my finances and my paycheck and I said, what can I afford to put out of each one of my paychecks into the stock market? And to this day, I still follow that. So for me personally, $250 out of each one of my paychecks. What I like to do is the day before my paycheck, I'll transfer the money so that when my paycheck hits, it's almost like I don't even notice it's gone, right? Because I'm so used to just automatically transferring it. And then the second piece of advice is, when you first start out, it's really difficult to not get emotional when you see certain things in the market, especially on some of those, this past week, it's proof of that alone, right? These really, really red days where you touch grass. I want to go outside and touch grass, right?
Or drown.
It's taught me to be, to kind of like disconnect from it sometimes. The other morning I checked my portfolio and I was like, I'm not doing that again. I learned that mistake and I put my phone down for the rest of the day. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough, separating emotion from investing, but you get better over time.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Being that it's all in the family and we do this, do you have anything as a child, I know an adult, but for a parent to say to their kids about investing?
Oh, yeah. Like the advice that a parent could, you're never too early to start, right? You're never too early to start investing and learning the power of investing and compounding, right? I worked at this company years ago and we talked about the difference of 1%, right? And it's you talk about 1% doesn't sound like a lot, but over the course of time, that 1% becomes a lot. And the example they gave was a cruise ship. Say you have a cruise ship that's going from England to New York. If they're just 1% off of their course at the start of their journey, they're going to end up in like South Carolina, right? And it shows you the difference of how compounding can throw you so wildly off of your path. And so to me, you're never too young to learn about investing and the power of money. One thing our school system is not really good at is they don't really teach people how to deal with money and how to invest. And so I would say it's never too early. It's never too early to, learn how you can stretch your dollar and, anyone can invest.
Now, what would you say sparked your interest on wanting to start a portfolio or start investing?
Well, I'll tell you, the thing that really kind of caught my attention was the GameStop thing that happened in 2020 or 2021, I think.
Roaring Kitty.
Roaring Kitty, yes. And then some of the memes on Wall Street Bets were hilarious, right? And it's funny because everyone was getting these stimulus checks and everyone was putting money into GameStop, and I never in a million years thought GameStop would get up to $500 a share, right?
Yeah, me neither.
And that kind of was like, oh, that's cool, right? But like in my head, I was like, maybe I missed the boat, maybe I didn't get in time, and then last year with that option call that I made all that money, I'm like, you know what, this is actually doable. At that time I had maybe $2,000 or $3,000 in the market. And I was like, this is doable, and it's all about consistency, right? It's all about consistency. If you can devote even $100 out of each paycheck, you'll see how quickly that can grow, and that can grow in your account. And it's just, you're uncomfortable now, but in the end, it pays off.
Yeah. So we are a very meme-friendly family. We love memes. So the memes of Wall Street Bets were
Jim Cramer.
How great are declaration days?
Oh, they're the best. Yeah, my favorite days.
Yeah, me too. We find out what we're getting paid.
Well, it's funny, right? Because when I first started, Yield&Grace was a monthly payer, and then they switched to weekly. But I remember at first maybe I only have Group C and Group A, or Group B, I don't remember, but it was only 2 weeks out of the month. And then the other 2 weeks, it's like, oh man, I gotta wait another couple weeks before I get paid.
Yeah.
But with the weekly payers now, round till I'm getting paid was it Wednesday,
Tuesday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I have a Thursday from Yield&Grace and a Friday from Yield&Grace. So I get paid 3 times a week.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah.
What is that? XPay?
What's that?
XPay that pays Thursday?
No, I don't have that. You're talking about with Yield&Grace?
Yeah.
YMAX.
YMAX.
Yeah, YMAX pays Thursday, and then I think all the rest of them like Misty, Plady,
pay Friday.
SMCY,
Pay Friday.
Yeah. But HOW, COIW pay Tuesdays.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my next question for you is about margin.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yes.
We would love to hear your thoughts on how you use margin and your thoughts.
So, I wrote down these numbers the other day. These may have changed a little bit because we had a couple really red days in the market, but this gives you an idea of how much margin I'm using. My total margin is about 32,000, and I'm using about half of that, so about 17,500. I'm using 32,000, and I have a buffer of 17,000, 17.5. The reason for that is I think we all remember Tariff Day back in April, and I was using a lot of margin at that time. Let's just say that. I was using a lot of margin at that time, and I got margin called a few times, right? I thought about deleting the app, but they know where I live. They know where I live, so...
Yes, you can't delete your app if you are margin called.
They still know who you are.
They know who you are,
So after that scare, I told myself I'm going to keep myself a nice buffer, 40-50%. Also, that gives me the option if I see something on sale or something, maybe a company has bad earnings, I can swoop in and get a good deal on that as well. So I like keeping my options open. I guess you could live dangerously and use a lot of your margin, but after that Tariff Day, I really liked having a big buffer, and it came in handy because even just the other day, I almost got margin called with that large of a buffer,
Yeah. So that is always why I emphasize the importance of using margin responsibly and always respecting your margin, because just like you said you had a huge buffer and the market pulls back and you're close to getting margin called, which is never a good feeling. You never want to have to sell your shares in order to cover your margin call.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people have mixed feelings on margin. What is your take on why you use it and how it helps you get to your goal faster?
Well, at the end of the day, especially with some of the stocks that I'm invested in, ETF dividend stocks, it's like the more shares I have, the more income that is, right? So I'm using it as a tool to multiply my portfolio, right? And not only that, but you really also have the option to turn. I'm a big fan of drip. My drip is on most of the time.
You drip everything.
Yeah, drip is on most of the time, and if not, you always have the option to turn drip off, right?
Exactly.
You have the option to turn drip off, even if it's just for a couple months, and guess what? You're paying off your margin, right?
Yeah.
And that frees up more money if you want to invest in the underlying, or I find that there's opportunities in the market at all times. It's like anything. What's the word I'm looking for? It's a tool, but in moderation.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for.
You have to respect it.
Exactly, in moderation, because it can get away from you quickly.
Yeah. So how do you decide when to start paying down your margin?
Well, like I said, I do have everything on drip, but I do still put in $250 out of each one of my paychecks. So I use that as my monthly margin payment. Some months I'll get 3 paychecks, but most months I'm paying at least $500 towards my margin, which keeps my payments, my margin interest at a manageable level. I think it's $4 or $5 a day or a month. No, it's a day. It's a day. Yeah. I was gonna say,
$4 a month.
Yeah.
What a deal.
Yeah, but I'd say I do that $500 a month, but then I always find myself finding another deal and buying it. So I try to keep, like I said, usually I keep like a 40-45% margin buffer.
Yeah, so with our strategy, the reason why margin works so well is because we're getting paid every month. And like you said, at any point you could turn drip off and start to pay down your margin. And then you have available cash to deploy into anything else that you want to, whether it's high yield ETFs, growth stocks, anything. So I think that's a really crucial point. We're not gambling our margin on calls and puts. We are using it strategically in order to make more money every month, and then at any point we can choose to pay down our margin. So that's very important. Now, do you have any other holdings other than high yield ETFs?
Well, it's funny we talked about Roaring Kitty. I do have 50 shares of GameStop. It's more of just a gamble play because who knows, right? It could soar again, especially with some of the new speculation. I know they just acquired Bitcoin recently. Yeah. So yeah, that's like more of a speculation play. I do hold 50 shares of that, but a little bit of Bitcoin, not much. Maybe
but you also have from work, you have
Yes, I do have a stock purchasing program with my company. Ticker is BIO, where they give us, I think it's 15% discount if they look at the first day of the quarter and the last day of the quarter, whichever's cheaper, they give you a 15% discount. So I think I have about 26 shares of my company, which
awesome.
Yeah, is awesome. It's like, hey, you're giving me stock at a discount. I'm 100% gonna take that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, do you have a portfolio goal? Like I say in a lot of my videos, my goal is eventually to get to $1 million in dividends a year. Mm-hmm. Do you have a goal that you're really set on and that's the number that you'd be really happy with? Or do you have a plan to maybe stop working one day and fully live off your portfolio? Mm-hmm. What does that look like for you?
Great question. Don't get me wrong, $1 million is a very lofty goal. To me, I look at it in smaller chunks. So like my first goal would be 100,000, right? So 100,000 would be my first goal. And then maybe I would go to 200,000 or 500,000 after that. And eventually that would be the ultimate goal. But yeah, $1 million a year would be amazing. But,
you wouldn't turn it down, right?
I would not turn it down. You know, and I love tracking everything on paper, which is why I kind of brought my notebook here, because I love tracking each one of my dividends, and then I have a running total of like how much I made this year.
So every week you get paid, you write it down?
I write it down.
Okay.
Yeah. I know a lot of people like spreadsheets, but call me old-fashioned. I like writing it down.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. That's an awesome way to keep track of exactly what you're getting paid mm-hmm. and how you're progressing over time. And I think for people who are in high-yield ETFs, writing it down, putting it on a spreadsheet, whatever you can to track your progress is so crucial and important. For me, when I first started and I put my stuff in Excel spreadsheets, every month when I saw my money making more money, it just gets so exciting. Oh, yeah. And you just want to keep going and going and going. So that's awesome.
Well, that's funny because like looking back at some of my totals, like the beginning of the year, you know, it's funny how we can get used to something so quickly, right? It's like the beginning of the year, my monthly total in January was about $366, right?
And you were happy with that?
And I was very happy. I was ecstatic. And then $588 the next month. Now, fast forward to like August and September, and I'm looking at 5,000,
wow.
3,000, 4,000.
Wow.
And it's so funny because like I'll have a month where I only make, man, I only made 3,000. It's like, and then I look back and I'm like, wait a second. In January, I only made $300, you know, $400
wow.
and I was happy
less than a year later, you're 10 times it.
How ungrateful can I be, you know? So, you know, perspective is everything.
That's a perfect example of why you have to talk to your kids about getting started.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's the perfect example.
Yeah. Jordan is such a perfect example of this,
Making it. It's a perfect example. I know we talk about me and Rachel because we work together, we're together all the time. Jordan followed suit into the whole journey, and
you were consistent, mm-hmm. you stayed disciplined, you
puts his money in.
Yeah, you dripped everything, and look where it's gotten you today. That's amazing.
Well, you know, it's funny because a lot of people have this mentality of like save money, but if your money's just sitting in your bank account, it's not working for you at all.
You're losing money.
You'd be better off, even if, you know, if I get people are apprehensive about the stock market because there are risks involved, but like even if you have a high yield savings account, right? Like some kind of account where you can park your money and just it's gaining interest every year. That would be a safer option to the stock market. Obviously, you're not going to make as much money, but anything but just sitting there, right? Because the money sitting there is not doing anything for you, you know?
I think you have so much wisdom and you're providing such amazing insights that I think people on my YouTube channel are going to want you to create your own YouTube channel to talk about your journey.
I might have to.
Coming soon.
Can I talk about a family story?
Yeah.
A prime example of why you should involve your family in this is during the week, Jordan was in the kitchen and he said he was looking to buy something, and I said, did you look at BidX? BidX was under $41 at the point, mm-hmm. and of course he went on his phone and bought it immediately when he said, wow, it's under $41. What'd you get it, $40.50?
40.90.
Wow.
And immediately did a cover call the next day.
Yep.
and made a nice chunk of money.
$120.
And
Yeah.
it's up quite a bit from when you bought it already.
Yep.
So that's why, family that talks about this stuff, you never know what you're going to put out there. It wasn't like, oh, go buy this or this. Hey, did you look at this? Oh, we're
ideas
We're
off of each
constantly doing this. Even my wife and I, we sit out in the morning. I was thinking about doing this. Well, instead of doing this, why don't you do this? And these things just turn into bigger events.
Now that's something I really like to get more into is covered calls. The things with the dividends is you set it and forget it, right?
Yeah.
You kind of just put your money in there and then you don't have to worry about looking at it all day. But the covered calls can be very lucrative, right?
Yeah.
And so I really like, I've been starting to look more into, I know people talk about the wheel strategy and looking into covered calls because you need to pay a little more attention to, the price action and you're going to get obviously the most for the contract that you're selling, but it really puts you more into paying attention to what's actually happening in the market.
Yeah.
But if you're not attached to the stock as much as like I am, I love my stocks like Rachel loves hers. So when I do cover calls, I do them farther out of the money where if it goes up that much, I'm happy as can be to begin with, but I'll keep rolling. But if you're not so stuck on a stock, and you're like, wow, this is a good income generator for cover calls. Like Elf's getting at the point now where I'm almost have to buy it because I love the company, and now it's getting destroyed. To make $100, $200 a week, and if it sells, oh well. If it doesn't sell, I'll just keep bringing in money for the long term.
Yeah, well, and then with BidX, the premiums are amazing.
It gets a dividend.
Yeah, it was, I think $40.93 is what I bought it at, and then I went $5 above strike at 45, and I made $118.
That's awesome. So you try to stay a little bit closer to in the money rather than going further out.
Well, you mean time-wise?
No, just to collect the highest amount of premium.
Exactly. Yeah. So I went $5 above the current, or $4 above the current strike price, and I went out a week since I bought it in the middle of the week.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay.
But you can always roll that out, especially when the dividend's coming up. Roll it past the dividend and collect the dividend. If it goes, it goes.
And if not, you can always, if I do end up selling it, I make $400 on the sale plus $118 on the cover call
for 2 weeks.
I made $500.
And then do a put on it, and if it buys it, you do it again.
Exactly. Yeah. Get paid to buy it.
My next series of questions is regarding tax season. I feel you are the more responsible investor compared to us two.
I know
that we are just all in, and we'll figure that out later when it comes.
We owe generational wealth.
Where you like to plan ahead, be very responsible. So I would love my audience to hear from you.
Please don't turn it to us and say, I just wing it too.
Taxes, I actually got to go to the bathroom.
There's actually an officer outside.
An IRS agent.
IRS has entered the chat. So, it is something that is on my mind, especially with tax season coming right around the corner in the next couple months. With keeping track of everything and adding it up, I've gotten to the point where I've probably received close to 20,000 in dividends, right? So thinking about 15% of that is a decent amount of money. It's a decent chunk of money. But like we mentioned earlier, we always have the option of turning off drip, right? So in my mind, I'm probably at some point, whether it's December or January, going to turn drip off for a couple months and kind of use some of that money set aside for tax season, in addition to claiming any of the losses that I had from a couple of my sales. So I think that worst comes to worst, since I usually do keep a large margin buffer, I can always withdraw for that. That's not ideal. I wouldn't like to withdraw from the margin.
It's a safety though.
It is a backup. You can always rely on that, and that's part of the reason why I also like keeping a large margin buffer.
So very good. Very, very responsible.
Yeah, and borrowing against margin is also tax-free because you're borrowing against debt.
Exactly. But ultimately, I'd like to just probably turn off drip for a couple months, and then, which kind of sucks because I'd like to accumulate more and more stocks, but you got to pay the tax man. So
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yes. So drip, I actually recently turned my drip off. It felt like a knife to the heart. I was in tears when I hit that button. But
You did it for 10 minutes at one day.
yeah, at work I
You started
said,
sweating.
yeah, I said, you know what? I think I'm gonna change my strategy. I'm gonna turn drip off, and then 2 minutes later, I said, never mind.
She was getting the
I can't
shakes.
do it. I was like, oh.
I did it once. I did it once with Misty because Misty's one of my largest positions. I have, I think, about 1,500 shares of Misty, and I'm down a decent bit. But like, you know, I do have conviction. I am thinking it will recover. But I turned it off for 1 month, and the price kept going down, and I was like, I have to average down, and I literally turned it right back up. Yeah. It was nice paying that off with margin, and I think I ended up buying a different stock with it.
Yeah.
So you also have the option of buying different stocks
Sure.
instead of dripping, which can diversify
Well,
your portfolio.
yeah.
And you could always buy the one that are cheapest at that point.
Exactly.
Or the underlying.
Or
you
the
know?
underlying, yeah.
Again, that's what Rachel and I always talk about, owning underlying stocks as well.
Yeah.
Now, when your portfolio gets to a certain point where you're happy with your high yield ETFs, do you have a plan on if you're going to start investing in the underlyings for growth or in other like more safer stocks? What is your plan for that?
Well, it's never a bad idea to invest in like an index fund, right? Especially since they're reliable, right? And they're not very volatile. And what is the average return on an index fund? Like 10% usually,
Yeah,
right?
10 to 12,
10
13.
to 12%. So that's always a safe bet. You know, for any folks out there that are really for dividends, volatility is good, right? So we don't mind the volatility because it usually
Especially
means
for
bigger,
cover calls.
yeah,
Yeah.
it usually means bigger payments. But you don't have to invest in these things. You can always invest in an index fund or the S&P 500. I'm sorry, what was the question again? Yeah.
If you're planning on once you get
after
to
you
a
get
point,
to a certain point. Yeah, it's never bad to diversify. I would love to hold the underlying, especially with the HOOW. I think Robinhood is revolutionizing the stock
I
game,
agree.
right? Don't get me wrong, I've used some of the other platforms, E-Trade and Fidelity. I think the user friendliness of Robinhood is really to its advantage, especially with younger people that are coming on. So I think Robinhood would be a good underlying to hold. Same thing with coin. I eventually would like to. The thing that scares me with Bitcoin is the price. I know I preach that you only have to put a little bit at a time, but you know, at $100,000 per Bitcoin, it's a little intimidating. But I
Why,
definitely
buying
think
1/1,000,000th of a share is not
exactly. It's like a shrapnel of Bitcoin. Yeah.
However, I do have to say I do buy $5 to $10 a day of Bitcoin.
And it adds up.
On
And I buy
Strike.
weekly.
Yeah.
also.
Yeah, and it really does add up. On Strike, you could do daily buys,
Right.
and it's shocking
It's like a coffee.
how
It's like a coffee.
quickly it does add up.
We joke about it, but when you actually look at it starting to gain, you won't believe it. Can I ask you a question, Jordan?
Mm-hmm.
If you had to pick 3 underlying stocks, well, they don't have to be ETF stocks, 3 stocks that you like, what 3 would those be?
I like Hood right now. I'd say I like my company because it was at its 52-week low, which is bio. The whole bioscience sector seems like it's getting hot right now. I'd say Hood. Palantir is a good one, I think, as well, and Coin probably.
So pretty much your ETFs.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
conviction. That's what
awesome.
Rachel preaches is
Yeah.
conviction, and that is exactly what she preaches.
Yeah,
Mhm.
just like for me buying Mister, I have such a high conviction with Mister. That's why I love Misty, and I actually just recently added MSTW. So to have even more Mister, my portfolio is totally rearranged now from this past week. So I'm all in on Bitcoin related stuff.
I almost said Mister too because I think it just hit like a 52-week
low.
low.
Yeah,
like
and
around
I couldn't help
215.
myself.
Yeah.
I had to.
The Bitcoin girly went all in.
I had my button over the buy button of Mister because I was like, should I buy it? Is it going to keep
I
going
know,
lower?
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And the key with Mister too is the cover calls are
Are
fantastic.
insane.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
So,
I can
Huge,
imagine.
big numbers.
yeah,
Yeah.
big numbers, which we know.
Well, you traded a BitX before too, right?
Yes,
I don't know
I've
if you
done
own
BitX.
them. Yeah,
Yes,
I mean,
I used to have 500 shares of BitX.
Okay, yeah.
And I really like BitX.
Yeah.
The only problem for me with BitX is the margin requirement on Robinhood is 50%. So
that's where you get caught.
yeah. So,
Well,
because it's a leverage.
I know I don't want to backtrack here, but I think Tesla is another good stock.
I was going to ask you about that. And TSLW Roundhill is a very good one as well.
Or what's the one that I know ROD talks about it? The wheel strategy, is it TSL?
TSLL, the leverage.
TSLL. Yeah, I've done a few contracts on those and made some decent money, but yeah, I think Tesla's kind of revolutionizing the whole car industry, and
now
you see them everywhere.
Everything.
Coming from someone that used to live in California, you see them everywhere. You
Down
still see them
too.
here in Florida, yeah, but in California, it's like they're more common than the Toyota Camrys.
Well, you're
You
not
see
allowed
them
to buy a
everywhere.
gas car anymore in California,
Exactly,
so you have no choice.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you would like to add or say? And same for you.
Well, I'm not AI. My sister's AI.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, that's
Thank
the first
you.
thing I would like to say. Yeah, I can understand how investing can seem like it's a intimidating thing, especially if you're just getting by or it's hard for you to get by. But it really does. Just a small amount. You can start with $20 or $50 or $100. I was talking to someone about this the other day. The $100 has become the new 20. You know, it's like, do you remember 20 years ago? It was 20 was a decent amount of money. Now it's 100.
Yeah.
If you can afford to just put $100 aside, and every couple weeks, every month, that's all it takes to get started, right? And do your research. There are so many great creators out there. Retire on Dividends, Rachel. There are a ton of people that can offer helpful insight, and it just takes that first step, right? I look at me. I'm still kind of a rookie investor. I only really started getting into this seriously over the course of the past 2 years. So if I can build up a decent portfolio in little time as 2 years, anyone can do it. So
I totally agree, and I think that you are the best walking testimony of just conviction and consistency. That let Jordan be your inspiration, that you don't need a lot of money to start investing. You can start with a little and just stay consistent, and you can have your portfolio continuously grow and grow and grow. That is awesome.
that's right.
That's a great idea by Rachel to bring in her brother, so you can see that it's not just, oh, Rachel, listen to me, and we tried to do something, but we really are family. We've tried to get my wife involved, but she's working on it. She'll see.
She's very shy.
Camera shy.
Yeah.
But it really is a family adventure, and we hope that your family gets to enjoy the adventure as well.
Yes.
I hope to be back too.
Yes, we would love to have you back, and I just know that everyone's going to want you to start your own YouTube channel, so you better start thinking of a name.
Maybe 10x this one next time?
yeah, exactly.
It could be Roaring something, so start thinking of
Roaring Jordan.
Roaring Jordan.
Ideas,
Roaring Jordan, coming soon on YouTube.
You know who my first subscriber will be? The IRS.
Well, thank you all so much for watching. We appreciate you all so much, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Generations of Wealth.